Good morning, Father Principal, Father Vice Principal, our distinguished speaker, Mr. Ankur Warikoo, members of the advisory committee, faculty members, and all the students of St. Xavier's College, Autonomous, Kolkata. We warmly welcome you to the Xavier's Management Society's first calendar event, X Genesis 2022. X Genesis is a 4-day simulation designed exclusively for the first-year undergraduates to give them a flow to step into the unknowns of the management world and to guide them through their college journey filled with learnings and memories. Now, I would like to call upon Professor Rajashik Sen to welcome our speaker for the day.
Good morning to Father Vice Principal, Father Principal, respected Dean Sir, dear students. I'm very much anxious to welcome our speaker for today. X Genesis normally provides students with perfect opportunities to showcase their skills. The round of tests which are done here, their business acumen it is going to test, help them learn essential skills, including time management, teamwork, communication, and problem-solving abilities, thereby preparing them for the corporate world. Now, I would like to introduce our distinguished speaker for today, Mr. Ankur Warikoo. Mr. Ankur Warikoo is an internet entrepreneur based out of Kolkata and India, a bestseller author, an online educator, where over 230,000 plus students have attended his courses so far, and is one of the India's top content writers and content creators, where he engages a community of 7 million plus followers across various social media platforms like YouTube, LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Thank you, sir, for being here with us today and guiding our students with your valuable words. Now I hand over the session to our MC to carry forward.
Thank you, sir. Furthermore, Mr. Warikoo has founded Nearby.com, India's #1 lifestyle app. He was its CEO from its inception in 2015 till 2019. His first book, Do Epic Shit, released in 2021, hit the #1 position in India on the Nielsen's bestseller list. Mr. Warikoo was a part of the Fortune magazine's 40 Under 40 for India, Forbes Top 100 Digital Creators List 2022, LinkedIn India's Top Voices for 2018, 19, and 20. We sincerely thank you for glorifying our event with your presence, sir. Mr. Warikoo, I'm sure that today's session and your insights on the growth mindset will be a motivational and interesting experience for our audience. I would now like to hand over the session to you.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Awesome. A very good morning to all of you. I am so thrilled to be spending my time with all of you today. Firstly, I hope you all have had a great week and a wonderful start to the weekend. It is very rare that you would have so many students show up on a Saturday morning, 10 a.m. for something which is not part of their curriculum and not mandated by the academic affairs. So I take it as an absolute sign of respect and gratitude that you all chose to spare time this Saturday morning for the session. I have to first thank St. Xavier's. I would have loved to be there in person. But I'm also grateful that technology has now allowed all of us to seamlessly connect in a way that wasn't so much before. So I'm sitting here in Delhi NCR, quite far away from Kolkata, and yet wherever you are across the country, not just in Kolkata, we all get to spend time together and have this moment shared. I am supposed to speak on growth mindset, and I love this topic because it's unfortunate. I was telling this to someone yesterday that when we are about 4 or 5 years of age, we are set into this routine for the next 15 plus years. Wake up in the morning, dress up in a uniform, then go to school, attend a certain curriculum, which has been designed by somebody else, and go through everything, math and science and social sciences, English and the languages. And that's like 15 plus years of training, of education. And unfortunately, I don't think we get even the equivalent of a year's education of training around the mindset, of how to really think about things in life, how to really go about doing things that you would imagine is important for living life. Because all of us are taught and trained that the only thing that is important is the academics that you're going through, the curriculum that you have to go through, the marks that you score at the end of that, the job that you get at the end of that. But the truth is, and most of you will realize as you start living life in the real world, that the biggest challenge in life is frankly not your job. The biggest challenge in life is how you think about the world and what your mind keeps on telling you about how the world functions. And that is insanely hard. A lot of you for the last 2.5 years have had a very difficult journey, suddenly thrown into online classes. It's not the same level of interaction. You're missing your friends, your colleagues, your teachers are struggling to make it happen. It's also the first time for them to experience something like this. There is very little interaction. The interaction is mostly transactional. It doesn't go beyond. You are just completely consumed in your own little cocoon, those four walls that you are living in with. And that got to us, right? It did. It got to us in a way where we didn't know how to share our own insecurities. We felt we were the only ones who were suffering. Everyone else seemed sorted because we had no way of even exchanging that emotion with somebody else. We had no way of figuring out whether we were the only ones who were going through something which is peculiar that we didn't want to go through. And that did a lot of, I wouldn't say damage, but intense struggle. And that shapes up a lot of the way that we think about our lives, how we think about the future, how we think about our relationships, how we think about everything that is happening in our life. So long story short, I wish that there was a lot more time dedicated in the early parts of our life towards just managing one's own self, managing our mindset, managing our thoughts, managing our emotions. And I'm glad that such a platform exists. So thanks to St. Xavier's for organizing this. And thanks for all of you for sparing time to be on this. Here's what we're going to do. It's 10:10 by my clock. I will speak till about 10:40, so about 30 minutes. And then for the remaining 20 minutes, I would love to have questions come my way, which I would request the host and the team to throw at me, selecting wherever it's coming from. There are attendees on Zoom. This is being streamed on YouTube as well. So wherever you are, just keep typing in your questions. They will come to me, and I will definitely try and answer as many as I can in the 20 minutes we have. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to walk you through my life. And the reason I'm going to walk you through my life is not because it's my life and I'm full of myself. It is because it's been a genuinely awesome life that I wish everyone gets to see and experience. I'm 42 years of age. I'm way, way, way older than most of you are, if not all of you. And I think the beauty about my life is that I did not plan to be where I am today. It all happened by an immense amount of luck, being at the right time at the right place, a bit of hard work that came from me, a lot of mindset decisions that I took, which I'm glad I took, and they just luckily worked out for me. And of course, a lot of people that supported me in this journey, without whom I would not have been here. But when you step back and you evaluate what I've gone through, there are lessons to be learned that I wish for all of you to also take away, in the hope that some of them, if not all of them, will help you in some way in your life. So I'll take you back all the way to school. I grew up in Delhi. I stay in Delhi as well. And growing up in Delhi as a student of class 7th or class 8th, as early as that, I knew exactly what I wanted to do in my life. I was very clear of what I wanted to do in my life. Absolutely crystal clear. And that is very rare for somebody who is that young. Typically, you get that clarity much later in life, but that wasn't the case for me. I knew exactly what I wanted to do. And there were 3 steps involved in that. Step 1, I wanted to go to the US to get my PhD. I loved the sciences. I was really good at the sciences. I wanted to become a scientist, and I wanted to do it from the US. 2, I wanted to become a space scientist and join NASA as my place of work. So NASA was my dream company. Like you would have yours, I had mine, and that was NASA, and that was really early in my life. And then goal number 3, as a space scientist working in NASA, my goal was to find myself on Mars. Hopefully become the first man on Mars. And this is, by the way, before Elon Musk has come into the picture. This is before Shah Rukh Khan from Swades has come back to India as a NASA space scientist. So I've not been polluted by any Bollywood pop culture, any startup pop culture. This is like true middle-class ambitions. Growing up in an Indian family, to go to the US for a fine education, to join my dream place of work, which was NASA. And then as a space scientist, working at NASA, growing up in the 1980s, 1990s, Mars was the holy grail. That's where you would want to be. So everything that I was doing in life, every step, every action, every thought, every possible reaction of mine was towards these 3 steps, these 3 goals. I joined the science stream in class 11th and 12th. I was really good at physics. So that was what I wanted to pursue as a space scientist. And then after my school, I joined Delhi University, Hindu College, in the Bachelor's of Physics program for Delhi University. And I don't know if any one of you is from Delhi University. Most of you, I believe, would be from Xavier's. But in case you are, you would know nothing happens at Delhi University. So nothing really happened those 3 years. Academically, I didn't get anything out of college. I wish I did, but I didn't. The only thing I got out of college was my wife. So I'm glad I went to the place in the first place. I didn't go looking for my wife. I just lucked out that we found each other. And while I didn't get anything out of college, my goal was very clear. It was like, apply to the US, start preparing for your PhD programs, and see where you can get yourself. And I started applying to the US universities, and I got through the PhD program in astrophysics at Michigan State University on a 100% scholarship. And that was a dream come true. I come from a very middle-class family, very hand-to-mouth existence, never had enough money, lived a life in perpetual financial debt. So for us to even have the audacity to dream about going to the US, to go to an international country and to study was wild enough. And we knew we never had the wherewithal to fund that education. So the only way that was possible is to get that 100% scholarship, which I'm so glad I got, and thank God for that. The next thing I know, I find myself in the US as someone who's trained in the Indian education system. And the wonderful thing about the Indian education system is that it teaches us when to study, when not to study, how much to study, how much not to study, what not to study, to know exactly what to say in the 3-hour examination, to know exactly how much you will score in that examination, to know exactly where you will rank in your class, to know exactly what that means to you and your parents. So I was killing it. I was deploying 18 years of my training in school and college to the hilt. And I was on top of my class. I was a 4-pointer. My professors loved me. My teachers, my students hated me. Everything that I thought would be happening to me as part of the plan that I had planned for myself was happening. Except there was something that was missing. And we all know when something is missing. We may not want to admit it. We may not want to stand in front of the mirror and admit it. But we all know when something is missing. And it was very clear to me that something was missing in my life as well. While I was doing what I was doing, and I was doing it the way that I had designed it for myself, I didn't feel what I thought I would be feeling. And I began to have these very tough conversations with myself. What's wrong? This is what you wanted to do, Ankur. This is where you wanted to be. So what's possibly wrong? And I realized after a series of such tough conversations that physics was something that I was good at, but it didn't make me happy. I realized that I was doing something that I was good at, but it didn't make me happy. And for the first time in my life, it struck me that what you're good at and what makes you happy could be two entirely different things. And that was a shocking revelation for me. Because all my life I had been taught and trained that if you're good at something, you automatically become happy doing it. But that nearly wasn't the case for me. And now I had two choices in front of me. Choice one was to continue doing whatever I was doing. And because I was good at this, I would actually get everything that society calls as success. That car, that house, that fame, that social status, that respect, that growth, everything that the world classifies as success would come to me because I'm good at this, but I may not be happy doing it. Or choice number two, go and pursue whatever happiness meant. And I had no idea what that would mean. All that I knew was I was not happy doing what I was doing. And at that point of time, I decided to drop out of my PhD and come back to India. And you can imagine how that conversation went with my parents. Because they were like, what is wrong with you? You have for 8 years just completely badgered our mind, NASA, space, US, astronomy, and all of those things. And now you're giving us this random theory. Oh, I'm good with this, but I'm not happy. Whatever that means. So they didn't get it. And I can understand why they didn't get it. So they said, hey, it seems like you want to come back to India. We don't quite believe the reason you want to do that, but let's take it that you want to. But you don't have to drop out of your PhD to come back to India. Why don't you finish your PhD and then come back? And the minute I heard that, I was like, where have I heard this before? And then it struck me that in class 10th, my parents told me, why don't you study for this 1 year and you will never have to study ever again in your life? And then in class 12th, they told me, why don't you get through a really good college this year and your entire life will be taken care of? And they're giving me the same thing again. Why don't you finish your PhD? Something miraculous will happen in your life that will take care of your life and everything will be okay. And I didn't want to make hope my strategy. So I'm so glad I didn't listen to my parents and I came back to India at the age of 24, dropping out of an education. And today when I talk about dropping out, people are like, oh my God, you've dropped out of your PhD. Everyone we know who's successful has dropped out of something. So you must be really cool too. But back then, dropping out of education, that too when you're a student in the US on a 100% scholarship, top of your class on a fast track program to complete your PhD, meant something is seriously wrong with you. This is 2004 that I'm talking about. Close to 20 years back. And I did not have a plan. I did not have any idea of what I would be doing in life. I had no direction, no sense of what I should be doing, what I could be doing. I was absolutely confused. And all my friends were like, hey, you're confused. So why don't you do what most confused people do? Go get an MBA. And I had a lot of my friends who had gone for an MBA that spent those years and time and effort to go through that 2-year program. And I wasn't sure of whether that would be the right thing for me or not. And as luck would have it, I come across this rather young school. It's a 5-year-old school. It's an insanely expensive program. So I'll have to take a mega educational loan to pay for that. But it was a 1-year program, which was awesome because I wouldn't have to spend 2 years in figuring whether this was the right thing for me or not. And the best thing about the program was that it was a bunch of work experience people that would be part of my batch. And the reason that was awesome is because I had zero perspective in the world. I knew nothing about the world. I knew nothing about what's sales, what's marketing, what's finance, what's IT, what's HR, what's supply chain, what's technology. I knew nothing. So for me to spend time with people who are so different from me, who had actually done real things in life, would be the best learning platform. So I decided to apply to the Indian School of Business And I thankfully got through. God bless the person who went through my application and found me worthy. And that 1 year just fundamentally changed my life. It changed everything about me. And I think the big reason was while I went to ISB looking for a role and a company and a job and a designation and a salary and all of those nice things that we look for, I went to ISB looking for myself. Who am I? What am I good at? What am I not good at? What are the things that I should or should not be doing in life? And I needed answers to those questions. And I think I found the answers to those questions. I then took up consulting after ISB ended. It was a fascinating journey. It was so enriching to spend time with very smart people on really complex business problems, try and solve them, make a lot of money in that process, and just stay the high life. And a year and a half passed by. I was thoroughly enjoying my consulting days. And I meet a friend of mine from ISB. And he's like, hey, I've started this new website and I wanted to talk to you about it. I said, sure, what's it called? And he said, it's called secondshadi.com. And I was like, is it what I think it is? He's like, yeah, man, it's a matrimonial website for remarriages. There's so many marriages that take place in India every year. So there are bound to be people who get divorced and widowed. And this is a platform for them to get married again. And I was like, that is such an incredible idea, dude. How did you think about that? And he was like, no, my dad thought about this. So my first reaction was, I hope uncle and auntie are having a happy marriage. But more importantly, is there a way that I can help? And he was like, yeah, I am an engineer. I'm a coder. I will build this thing out. I will get it done. But I think you and I can make a great team. So would you want to do this with me? And I was like, I'm having such a ball of a time in consulting. I'm really enjoying myself. I'm getting to learn so much. I'm making money for the first time in my life. I think it'd be foolish to give all of that away and join you as yet. But if you're okay, and I really hope you're okay, whatever time is left out of consulting, I would just love to spend it with you on Second Shadi and see where it goes. And he was like, great, let's do that. So he was very gracious about it. And that's what I did for the next 1.5 years. I had a day job as a consultant during nighttime. I was Batman trying to get people married again. And Second Shadi then suddenly rose to a size and scale where now it warranted my full time. And at that point of time, I decided to quit my consulting job, take a massive pay cut, about 70, 80%, down to the bare minimum financial amount that I needed to survive, and join secondshadi.com. And you can imagine how that conversation went with my parents. Because they're like, what is seriously wrong with you? Why do you every 4 or 5 years keep inflicting this pain, forget on yourselves? Why do you keep inflicting it on us? You're not even married the first time yourself. Like you have no idea what marriage is and you're trying to get people married again. How does this even make sense? Why would you leave everything that consulting gives you? The money, the prestige, the social status, the 5-star hotels, the business class flights and everything that comes with it. And I was like, it makes sense to me because I think I can always go back to the world that I've come from. But I don't know if this new opportunity in front of me is going to ever come back again or not. And I don't want to live with regret. So I'm so glad I didn't listen to my parents again. And I joined secondshadi.com. We had a ball of a time. We came up with several other websites. The big one of that was Gaadi.com. It very quickly became one of India's largest car classifieds websites. We got an opportunity to sell Gaadi.com to a really large South African internet conglomerate. And then we made a little bit of our own money. And there were 3 of us as founders. We went our separate ways. And I was looking for the next thing to do. And I come across Groupon. And Groupon had just started in Chicago in 2008. And it was growing like wildfire all across the world. And they were looking for people to set up different offices in different countries, India being one of them. So I got in touch with them. They liked me. I liked them. And the next thing I know, I started the Groupon India business in 2011 for Groupon. And I did that for 4 years. I managed Groupon APAC during the period as well. Learned a lot about my leadership skill, more about the fact that I sucked as a leader. I completely failed as a leader. And I learned it the hard way. And by 2015, it was very obvious that Groupon had its own problems to take care of in US and Europe, which were meaningfully large, and rightfully so. Their attention was towards these two markets. But India was this massive opportunity that I was experiencing every day. And I felt that every day we weren't doing anything about the opportunity was a day we were letting go of this mega opportunity that we were sitting on. And I went to Groupon Global and I essentially said, hey, I think you're very busy with the US and Europe, which is absolutely the right thing to do. I would do that if I were you. But I think that this is a mega opportunity here. You can't do justice to it for all the right reasons. So why don't you allow me to do full justice to it? I want to buy the Groupon India business from you and make it independent. And they were like, what are you talking about? You're a 100% subsidiary of a publicly listed company listed in the US. This thing has never happened before. And I was like, well, it hasn't happened. That doesn't mean it can't happen and it shouldn't happen. Here is the reason why I think it should happen. And it took about 9 months of convincing to convince them that this is the right thing for Groupon to do. And we partnered with Sequoia Capital. And we were able to buy the Groupon India business from Groupon and make that into an independent entity that now runs as nearby.com. In 2017, Paytm came along. They made an investment in Nearby. We thus became a Paytm company. And in 2019, for the first time in 4 years, Nearby became profitable. And at that point of time, I had spent almost 8 to 9 years in this industry. I'd built a fascinating team that I completely trusted, more than I trusted myself to run it. I knew now the company was not dependent on external capital. It could self-fund itself. So it just felt like the right moment for me to step down as the CEO and look for something else for myself. So I decided to take a 3-month break at the end of October 2019. And I am on the 23rd month of that 3-month break, still trying to figure out what I want to do. But I think I'm getting closer to the answer. The reason why I share this story with all of you is not because it's my life. I frankly, if were to hear this from anybody else as their life, I would fall in love with their life just as much as I'm in love with my life. The reason I share this with you is because it starts with a very important lesson that we're all told, which is to win in life, you have to have a plan. And particularly you, all of you students who are very, very young, still trying to figure out what you want to do in life, everyone keeps telling you, you got to have a plan. You keep telling yourself that you have to have a plan. And I had a plan. I had a plan for my life. I had a plan that was as good as a plan could get. I had a plan which was very well laid out. I had a plan that I was delivering upon. I had a plan that I was absolutely achieving. I had a plan that would change my orbit forever. Every single thing that you would call as part of a good plan was part of my plan. And yet, life punched me hard in my face, laughed at me, mocked me, said, oh, you think you have a plan? I have a plan for you. And I want to see how you react to that plan. So when I came back from the US, dropping out of my PhD, I had 2 choices. Choice 1 was what the world kept telling me. If plan A didn't work, plan B. Plan B didn't work, plan C. Plan C didn't work, plan D. But you always got to have a plan, always got to have a plan. But I didn't have a basis for another plan. The best plan that I had ever come up with in my life had just gotten destroyed in front of my eyes. I had 0 basis for coming up with another plan. I had no foundation to come up with another plan. I didn't know what that plan should be. So how was I supposed to come up with another plan? So there was this second crazy choice that I asked myself, is it possible to live life without a plan? Is it possible to live life without goals, without targets? And if yes, how would that plan look like? How would that life look like? How would that journey look like? And I needed answers to those questions, which I think I found. And I've been living with those answers for the last 17 years, and it has worked really well for me, which is what I want to leave you with. It is my definition of the growth mindset that I hope and pray that everyone, especially people in their 20s, get to experience, get to share, get to absorb, get to reflect upon, because it has meaningfully changed my life, and I have no reason to believe it can't yours. Number 1, go back to the day you joined college. Go back to the day when you were amongst those set of individuals where you were surrounded by very smart people, people from all across the country, very smart individuals, but they were different. They looked differently, they dressed differently, they spoke differently. They had very different experiences, very different worldviews, very different ways of looking at the same thing. And the first thing you did when you were amongst this set of individuals was to look for people who are like you. That's what you did, right? That's what you did. You went about looking for people who are like you. You were looking for people who are from the same city as you, people who had come from the same school as you, people who had the same upbringing as you, people who were from the same caste, same religion, same race as you. You were looking for people who were like you because that's where you belong. That's where you feel comforted. That's where you know that your choices will not be confronted. You will never feel threatened. You will feel included. That's the basic instinct that every human has, a need to belong. And when I went to ISB, I saw the same thing. I saw that there were groups that were created within like a few hours of us on campus. Engineers with engineers, chemical with chemical, mechanical with mechanical, Delhi with Delhi, South Bombay with South Bombay, lawyers with lawyers, doctors with doctors. And I was like, isn't this the exact opposite of what one should be doing in life? Like, here is an institution that has brought about hundreds of the smartest people that this country possibly has onto one big campus. And you're still going to spend time with people who are like you? Oh my God, what a tragedy. Because when you spend time with people who are like you only get to know of things that you already know. People nod at what you say. They agree with what you say. It's only when you spend time with people who are very different from you do you get to see the world a different way. And you do that not because you want to agree with them. You don't do that because you want to believe in what they believe. You do that because you want to understand what they know that you don't. Because this question is the most fundamental question of all. What is it that they know that I don't? Because you will find yourself in conflict. Every single waking day of your life, you will find yourself in conflict. And if you don't ask this question, what is it that they know that I don't? You will constantly feel like people are hurting you. People are against you. You're the one who knows something and you're right, but everyone else is claiming that they're right, but they're wrong. You know what? You're wrong. That's not how the world functions. Everyone has their own view. Everyone has their own perspective. And until you don't understand and appreciate the perspective of somebody else, you will only become a bigger version of yourself, not a better version of yourself. Your job is to become a better version of yourself. And that happens when you allow your mind to be the combination of different worldviews, not just yours. So spend time with people who are nothing like you, because they know something that you don't. They see the world differently from what you do. And that will teach you something about the world. Number two, let's assume that I'm speaking mostly to St. Xavier students. And I'm sure there will be people outside as well. St. Xavier's is a great college to be. It's one of the best colleges that the country has. And when you are in such a setup, when you have won in life, when you've got through a really good place, go back to the last time you got through your dream college, go back to the last time you were acknowledged, respected, you felt promoted. You stood in front of the mirror. You patted yourself on the back. And you said, I deserve this. I deserve to be here. I have done enough in life, worked really hard in my life to get to this point. I deserve to be here. But that is a lie. It's a big lie. The truth is, none of us deserve to be where we are in life. We just don't. We got plain lucky. We were lucky that we were born into a family that took care of us, that gave us food, shelter, and upbringing, love, values, education. because of which we sit on opportunities that most people will never get to experience even for a second of their life. And they work far harder than we ever will, and most of them are far smarter than we can ever imagine. But we trick ourselves into believing that we deserve to be where we are. And that makes us entitled. It makes us entitled. And when entitlement comes, you start complaining. Everything becomes a transaction. You believe that the world owes you something. You believe your college owes you a job. You believe your teachers owe you your attention. You believe your friends owe you their time, their money. You believe that everything that you have done in life has got you to this point where now the world has to do something for you while you sit on this royal chair and wait for them to offer their gifts. Don't get entitled. Don't ever get entitled. Don't ever find yourself in a space where you think that you have worked hard enough to deserve to be where you are. You have to just be grateful. Entitled to nothing, grateful for everything. Which brings me to the third and last point before I close. Everything around us, every product, every service, every interaction around us is designed for one thing and one thing alone, our comfort. You need a book? Click. You need clothes? Click. You need the latest movies? Click. You need food? Click. You need a cab? Click. You need everything at the speed of thought available to you at your doorstep. So it tricks you into believing that the world's purpose, that life's purpose, is to make life comfortable. When the truth is, the most successful people that you know of, people that inspire you, people that you look up to, people that you would want to be, they are on a constant basis picking up the path of maximum resistance. They're not picking up the easy path, my friend. They are picking up the difficult path, knowing very well that their chances of failure are very high, and yet they would do it because they know that if they win, it will change their orbit forever. And they're willing to play those odds. And it baffles me how many students in college just want to make it comfortable. Face your fears. Here's the truth about college. Nothing that you do in these 3 years, nothing that you do during college is going to ever screw up your life. And yet you wouldn't do it. You wouldn't face your fears. You wouldn't challenge yourself. You're scared of public speaking. You're scared of speaking in front of an audience. You wouldn't still get up on stage and speak. What are you scared of? Your friends laughing at you? Is that what really scares you? Then you've no idea how life is going to be for you, my friend. Go out, stand on stage, get laughed at, and go and do it again. Do it every single day till you no longer hear that laughter because you've gotten so comfortable and good with it. And then you move on to the next challenge. You're scared of approaching strangers for favors. You're scared of sending cold emails. You're scared of connecting with your alumni for opportunities. You're scared of asking for an internship. You're scared of math. You're scared of science. You're scared of a subject. You're scared of how you will face interviews. Go and do that. Because if you fail right now in college, nothing is going to happen to your life. But once you get into the real world, and then you fail, the world will be brutal. And you have no idea how that is. You're not nearly prepared for that. Don't get comfortable. Don't get comfortable. When you combine these 3 things, spending time with people who are nothing like you so that it broadens your perspective of how the world functions. You do it with no sense of entitlement, absolute gratitude at all points of time, and you never get comfortable. You have what I call the growth mindset. And trust me, with this mindset, you don't need a goal, you don't need a plan, you don't need a target for your life. The fact that you live your life like this as a habit will take you far, far, far ahead in life than anything that you can set for yourself. If at the age of 24, someone came to me and said, "Hey, I am from the future. Congratulations, time travel has been invented. You just didn't know of it. You always believed in it. You were always a believer, but it's true. I am from the future. I'm from the year 2022. And I have good news for you. I want to tell you that in 2022, you'll have about 7 million people following you on social media, which is a really cool thing. It will come up very soon and will take over the world. You would have written a best-selling book that would have gone on to become #1 in the entire country. You will be the best-selling author in the entire country. You would have people who would write in to say how you've changed their lives, how meaningful your content is and your experiences are. You'll be called by the top organizations across the world to motivate and inspire their employees. You'll be called by the top institutions of the world to motivate their students and teach them about life through your experiences. And I would tell that person, boss, please get yourself checked. Tumhara dimag kharab ho chuka hai. Because there was nothing that I could have done in life to have gotten to this point. There was no goal, no plan, no target that could have gotten me to this point. And I'm not the smartest person I know. I'm not the most hardworking person I know. There's nothing remarkable about me that sets me outside of any one of you. I'm just married to the process. I'm just married to my habits. And those habits have taken me far, far beyond I could have ever imagined for myself. And that's the power of the growth mindset. It's never limiting. It doesn't set a goal, because the minute you set a goal, you're saying, I can't go beyond that. While the growth mindset said, there is no goal, there is no target, there is no plan. I am just going to live life through habits. And those habits are going to take me there to places that I could have never imagined for myself. Thank you so much. I wish you all an absolutely wonderful life ahead. I hope you make the most of it. I hope you realize that you're not the only one who still hasn't figured life out. At your age, I recognize how confusing, how anxiety-inducing, how paralyzing some days, some weeks, some months can be. I've been through all of that when I was your age. And if it's any hope, any solace, then I want to stand here and tell you, you're going to be okay. Everything's going to be okay. You just have to believe in the process and don't fall in the trap that the world has laid out for you. Don't try and settle in life early. Try and explore as much as you can, because life is wonderful and should be explored. Find who you are. And the day you find who you are, live life according to that. It will take you automatically into places that will be the best for you. All the best. Thank you so much. And I will now wait for questions coming my way. Shruti, over to you.
Thank you so much, sir, for this session. We'll now be starting with the questions.
Good morning, sir. I wanted to ask you, your book, Do Epic Shit has been acclaimed as the national bestseller. With so much adversity in your interest and ranging from things about entrepreneurship to social media, how do you think being an author defines you or differentiates you?
Thank you, Shruti, for that question. That's a wonderful question. I genuinely didn't think of myself as an author, and I still don't think of myself as an author. That's too big a title. I'm just a writer, and I love writing. I have been writing for 15 plus years now. And one thing that the book did for me, which I frankly did not appreciate until it came out, is that it became a compilation of my thoughts in a moment of time, but in a way that it can be accessed anytime. The unfortunate thing about creating content online is algorithms today are trying to suppress content from the past and only trying to surface content which is recent. It's something that's happened right now. It brings in that moment of, oh my God, this is real time. And it stresses on that. But what you tend to lose because of it was the experience, the power of something that has stayed for a really long time. And a book is a wonderful reflection of that. When I read books, and I am a very avid reader, I look at it as someone's life compiled into 300-400 pages at best. And that's crazy, because that's a very rich life. suddenly consumed into a few pages that I can take 5 hours or 6 hours to go through. So in 6 hours, I go through 70, 80 years of experience. It is unbelievable. Same way, if one were to read Do Epic Shit, in a few hours, you would go through what my life has been thus far. And it is something that you can always go back and refer to. So I love that bit about a book, which I didn't think through when I was thinking about the book. And I'm so glad that I wrote it. And I'm now addicted, and I will continue writing.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, Shruti.
Thank you, Shruti. Now we'll be taking the next question.
So, I wanted to ask that in several of your videos, you have stressed on the importance of time management. So has there been any instance in your life when you really wanted to turn back time and execute things in a better way?
No, Zoya, I don't think so. And I'm not being socially desirable right now by giving a politically right answer. I genuinely do not know of any instance where I could go back and do something differently. I feel that where I am right now is a result of everything that I did, whether they worked out or didn't work out. And it's frankly giving ourselves too much importance to say, oh, I wish I could go and change that because I think that would have resulted in something better. Who knows? How do you even realize that something that didn't work out for you in that moment actually did work out for you? A great example is, like any other science student, I wanted to get into the IITs after my class 12th. And I prepared and I didn't make it. And I was devastated at that time. I felt like zindagi khatam ho chuki hai, kuch nahi raha, everything is over. But I found my wife when I went to college. And I'm like, hey, what would have happened if I went to IIT? Would I have still found her? The answer is most likely no. Would I have found someone else? Perhaps yes. Would that person be just as good, if not better than her? Who's to say? So there is just so much randomness in our life, in our universe, that to have a linear way of thinking about things just doesn't work for me. And I'm always looking at the interconnections and then saying, jo ho raha hai na, there is an interconnection around that, which will only be obvious much later. So I don't want to change anything about my life. I don't regret anything about my life. And that's how I live. I just do things that I know I would not regret later on, irrespective of whether they work out for me or not.
Thank you so much for the answer.
Thank you, Zoya.
Thank you, Zoya, for the question. We'll now be taking the next question.
Good morning, sir. So I wanted to ask you that you have inculcated amongst your audience that the choices you make in life come from a point of awareness and not ignorance. Having said that, how do you feel a student can utilize their college years in building their profile by making the right choices?
That's a great question, Shreya. Wonderful, wonderful. So I often say this, and this is something that Shreya echoed. I have one mission in my life, that through my content, I spread awareness. And the reason I want to spread awareness is because I would love for people to make choices in their life from a point of awareness and not ignorance. What do I mean by that? Go back to class 11th. You had a choice to make between science, commerce, and humanities. How did you go about making that choice? Most of it was just pure ignorance. You didn't know any better. Your marks defined it. If you got good marks, science. If you came from a business family, or if you had brothers or sisters who were CAs, commerce. If you scored less, humanities. It was a disastrous way of thinking about life. It just completely blindsides the beauty of what the world has to offer. But we make those choices out of ignorance. We have no understanding of what it is to go for engineering or go for journalism or go for CA. We have zero understanding. We just go because somebody else has told us. Instead, if you're a college student, which is what the question was, spend your time in making yourself aware about the choices you have. Which companies do you want to sit for? Make yourself aware of that. Speak to alums who have worked in those companies. Go and review those companies. Go and speak to employees in those companies on LinkedIn. Get a sense of what that company culture is, how the company growth is, how the company mindset is, what works for it, what doesn't work for it. Find out what is it that works for you when it comes to that company. Make that point, make that choice from a point of awareness so that you know what you're getting into. If you're picking up a certain stream, but you have no idea how it works for you, go and pick up internships, go and pick up projects, go and work with professors, go and pick up academic projects that will get you deeper into that subject to truly understand what it is to live that stream. Don't be just driven because you've made a decision in your life and then just do it as if you are a robot. You're not. You're a well-trained, with high judgment human. And you got to deploy that judgment at some point or not. So that is what I mean by getting to a point of awareness. And I love college for that. A lot of people don't like college because like, college, attendance, professors, exams, blah, 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 blah. And I get that. I get it because I've been in that same thing. But what I love college for is what it can do for you outside of what it was supposed to. What it's supposed to do is give you a degree, give you an education, give you a platform where you go through a routine and a rigorous curriculum to get yourself educated and learned on that. What it offers is mega opportunities, colleagues that you can hang out with, alumni who have gone through that, competitions that you can be a part of, clubs and societies that can help you discover something new about yourself, internships, projects that you can go through, which give you a sense of how the real world works. Go through all of that. Make that as part of your curriculum. Just because it's not part of your syllabus and you will not be graded for it doesn't mean that you don't do it. Become a holistic student for life. Because if you can become a student whenever you want to, for whatever you have to, you are gold. Nobody will ever be able to defeat you. And here is something that most of you don't realize because you're way too young for no fault of yours. The world is so rapidly changing that the career you're planning for right now will not even exist after 10 years. And you will have to completely reimagine yourself professionally. What is going to help you then? Not a college, not a degree, not a process like this. It is going to be your own self-learning. It is going to be something that you pick up, and until you don't know what it's to become a student, you will struggle to do that. So I believe that the biggest thing that college can teach you is to how to become a student. That's it. It's not about commerce, so it's not about business studies, it's not about economics, it's not about anything like that. It's genuinely how to become a student of any subject that you have to. So tomorrow you want to learn music, or tomorrow you want to learn data sciences, or tomorrow you want to learn how to code, or tomorrow you want to become a singer or an influencer. You know how to do it. And it's not because you were trained to do it. It's because you know how to become a student. So that is what awareness means. I gave you a very long answer, Shreya.
Thank you so for your answer.
Thank you.
A very good morning to Father Principal, Father Vice Principal, members of the advisory committee, all dignitaries present here, respected professors, faculty members, participants, and the students of St. Xavier's College, Kolkata. As we conclude this session, I would like to thank our esteemed speaker, Mr. Ankur Warikoo, for providing such an insightful session to enrich the young minds. Engaging with a man with the thoughts and personality like yours is indeed a pleasure. Sit on as many chairs as you can before you find the one chair which you belong. From attending your Instagram lives every Friday night to finally getting to host you today was indeed an honor for us. We sincerely appreciate your time and efforts and taking out time from your busy schedule for joining us today. Professor Sukanya would like to address you.
Good morning, everyone. I would like to especially thank Mr. Ankur Warikoo, sorry for the pronunciation, teach in class, we try to actually help them in different ways. And in Xavier, mentors by default. So we know what are the problems they are facing outside the campus and in their personal life. And that actually touched their lives today in that way, that how they are actually unstable. And you specified through your journey that how there could be any number of plans. Okay, when you fail somewhere, you actually learn from that point and you get a plan C. So plan A, plan B, plan C. So therefore, so we never fail in that way. So it's wonderful listening to you. And our students, teaching, say that we are very much inspired by his talks. So thank you for being here. Thank you for enlightening our students, actually giving them a particular direction. You can actually go through any direction. So there is no particular direction as such. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Now, I would like to invite Professor Basili Dasgupta to deliver the vote of thanks.
Thank you, Shruti. Am I audible clearly?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes, ma'am.
thank you. A very good morning to Father Principal, Father Vice Principal, our esteemed speaker for the day, Mr. Ankur Warikoo, members of the advisory committee, respected professor, faculty members, and all my dear students. As we come to an end of this session, I would like to convey my heartfelt gratitude to Mr. Ankur Warikoo, our eminent speaker, for motivating our students with his wise words, which were truly inspirational in every respect. This event would not be possible without the continuous guidance and support of Father Principal, Father Vice Principal, and unwavering support of Professor Shoganta Banerjee, Dean of the Department of Management Societies, Professor Shukonna Sorkel and Professor Shupriyo Patro, Deputy President and Deputy Vice President of the Xavier's Management Society. I would also like to express my gratitude each of every society members who took up this challenge of hosting the event on hybrid platforms and provide a unique experience to their participants and attendees. To conclude, I would like to express my gratitude to everyone present here, and I hope you all had an incredible experience. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for your kind words. I would also like to extend my gratitude to Mr. Ankur Warikoo for taking out time and addressing our college students with your valuable insights. With this, we've reached the end of today's session. Students, please stay back for a short announcement. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Shruti, for organizing this. Thank you to the entire team, and God bless you all. Have a wonderful weekend, and I hope to see you all sometime in person in the future. Take care.
Definitely. Thank you. Attendance form has been rolled out. All the BMS students are requested to fill the attendance form. A credit form has been rolled out for all the non-BMS students. It will be closed in 15 minutes. Please check the chat box and do the needful.